taking pictures of these bees at this creek, this creek or whatever.
Ate them all.
No, they're still.
Did some photo
Tonight.
comparisons.
Yeah, it's gonna be on soon.
Whatever they have there. It's a little bit of a rare species, I guess. Interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to go to digging for gold or something.
No good.
Should we go fetch up?
Yeah, we are live.
I thought you deserted us, man, without having him there.
We will call this regular city council meeting to order on August 17th, 2020 at 7 PM. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn,
Present.
Mr. Bateman,
Present.
Mr. Leith,
Present.
Mr. Welch,
Present.
Mr. Parrott,
Present.
Mr. Downs,
Present.
Mr. Keller,
Present.
Mr. Haneke.
Present.
And before we say the Pledge of Allegiance, can we do a moment of silence? Darren Whitaker, who was a former alderman, passed away this week, and Ryan Williams did as well. So, moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first items up tonight, we're going to be swearing in a few firefighters. The first one is Andrew Kerrigan for the completion of a probationary firefighter. Chief Donofsky.
All right. Please raise your right hand. Say aye,
I,
your name,
Andrew Kerrigan,
and repeat after me. Having been appointed
have been appointed
to the office of firefighter
to the office of firefighter
in the city of Lincoln,
in the city of Lincoln,
in the county of Logan,
in the county of Logan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois.
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
And I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of
of the office of
firefighter to the best of my ability.
firefighter to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
This was actually May 6th, but we waited till we could have a meeting to mark the occasion.
Next up is Damian Larson.
There we go. Please raise your right hand or left-handed, whichever you prefer. Say aye,
Aye.
your name,
Damian Larson.
having been appointed
Have been appointed
to the office of
to the office of
probationary firefighter
probationary firefighter
in the city of Lincoln,
in the city of Lincoln,
in the county of Logan,
in the county of Logan.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I'll faithfully discharge the duties
and that I'll faithfully discharge the duties
of probationary firefighter
of probationary firefighter
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
And next up is Christopher Langley.
So please raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Your name
Christopher Langley.
and repeat after me. Having been appointed to the office
Having been appointed to the office
of probationary firefighter
of probationary firefighter
in the city of Lincoln,
in the city of Lincoln,
in the county of Lincoln,
in the county of Logan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and I'll faithfully discharge the duties
and I'll faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of probationary firefighter
of the office of probationary firefighter
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Both candidates will spend 2 weeks doing a mini, kind of like a mini camp, and then they'll be moved to a shift for 2 weeks, and then they'll be off to academy for the next 10 weeks. So you'll see them for a short while around, and then they'll be gone for a while. They should be back by Thanksgiving.
Okay. Is there anybody on the phone that would like to speak under public participation? Okay, that is a no, and I have no public participation cards, so we will move on to the consent agenda, which consists of payment of bills and the approval of minutes July 20th, 2020, regular city council meeting, July 20th, 2020, public hearing meeting, July 28th, 2020, committee of the whole meeting. Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Welch made the motion, Alderman Honecky second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Next item up is the ordinance amending the City of Lincoln's previously passed ordinance regarding poultry.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Keller made the motion, Alderwoman Horn second. Discussion? Alderman Keller, would you briefly just explain the change? This is the permit fee amount, I believe.
Certainly, Mayor. Yes, we had approved the ordinance 2 weeks ago, and we are now making an amendment to that permit fee, which originally read $25 per chicken, which will now be $25 per property.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
No.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Okay, next item up is the ordinance amending section 6-2-3 of the city code pertaining to animal control.
Move to approve.
I'll second. Alderman Bateman made the motion, Alderman Welch second. Discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Next item up is the ordinance amending fire regulation penalties.
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Parrott made the motion, Alderman Keller second. Chief, did you want to speak on this one, or are you okay? Okay. There will be well, I guess I will need to make this because the item that was in the packet, keep me honest here, Chief, the item that was in the packet did not, last week did not include a new line on page 3. And I believe the council was sent that update, and that meant to elaborate the language regarding structures. And the line that was added in, it states, from any structure or non-building such as but not limited to fences and telephone poles. So I think I'm gonna need to make a motion to amend, because it wasn't in the original one, correct, Mr. Hoblet? Is it in the current packet?
Give me 1 moment, please. While I scroll down there and look.
I sent John the amendment as well as the council, and then John changed a word.
Yeah, I want to make sure,
He had to clarify a word better. He didn't like the word that was in there.
I just want to make sure that it's actually in the packet itself. Otherwise, we'll have to make an amendment on that one.
It is in there, yes. If you look to
Packet.
2C in the Exhibit A, towards the bottom of the paragraph, it says, after the comma, it says, well, it says, read the sentence, any burning done pursuant to provisions hereof shall be done only in concrete or brick buildings, brick streets, or on the citizen's property. But the location of such burning must be a minimum of 50 feet from any structure or non-building, in parentheses says fences, telephone poles, etc. And after that, and tend to at all times that flame, smoke, and embers are present. So it is in there.
All right, thank you. Sorry for the confusion. That was something that came after the discussion last week, and we wanted to make sure we got that corrected.
And the structures and 50-foot rule only applies to landscape waste fires, not recreational fires.
Correct. Any other discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Next item is the ordinance authorizing the purchase of real estate at 201 9th Street, which was tabled on 7/6 of 2020.
Move to approve.
I believe we're gonna have to make a motion to remove it.
Take
from
it off the table.
Make a motion, take it off the table.
Second.
Alderman Bateman made the motion to remove it from the table. Alderwoman Horn, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Okay. Now a motion for the ordinance authorizing the purchase of real estate at 201 9th Street.
Motion to approve.
I'll second. Alderman Bateman made the motion. Alderman Parrott, second. Any discussion? Alderman Bateman.
Just for clarification, there may or may not be a lien on this property. So I believe moving forward, it's just like any other real estate transaction. Once we get down to the brass tacks, if there's a lien, and we can stop at any time.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes. Next item is the resolution to approve minutes for executive sessions from December 10th, 2019 through July 20th, 2020.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Hoineke made the motion. Alderman Downs second. Discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Next up is the city treasurer's report for July 2020. Treasurer Conzo.
Thank you, Mayor. You have a copy of this report in front of you, and I'm point out some of the highlights. You'll notice our general fund balance, it's still holding up, I think, fairly well considering things we've been through in the last several months, both here in Lincoln and nationwide with the pandemic and some other things. But you notice it is down about 100,000, 102,000 from where it was a year ago. I'm kind of, I'm glad that it's not, I'm sorry that it's down that much. I'm glad that it isn't worse. So we'll see, if we've been through the worst of this or not. We don't know yet because there can be a lot of ups and downs with this over the next several months. But I think it's encouraging that it's, we expected it was going to be down, but it's kind of encouraging that it's not down even more than that. But it's too early to make any solid predictions as to what's going to happen with that. So I would still urge caution when making any new expenditures. You see the listing there of the receipts we received. There's one error on my part. That video gaming tax says for May. It should be video gaming tax for June. The bad news is the amount is still the same, which is zero. And I'll show when we get into the tables that are attached to this, I'll talk a little bit more about that too and where we stand with that looking ahead. Second page, you see the investments in the police and fire pension fund. You recall that with the police pension fund, we struggled for years to get over the $10 million mark. We did so as the pandemic took hold and the stock market declined. It went down into about 9.5 to 9.6 million. We're back up over 10 million again, so that's a good sign that it's moving in the positive direction. Fireman pension fund, same thing. We were up over 6 million there briefly and declined, but it has come back up a little bit since last month. So I hope that continues to be the case, and I will certainly report to you as we go through the days and months ahead. You see the usual listing for the balances for each of the various funds. I won't go through each of those, but if you look at the tables that are attached, you see the municipal sales tax there. We're down for the month of April over what we had last year by about $7,000. That's, we were kind of expecting to see that. You saw it decline in March, saw it decline in April. We'll see what happens in the months ahead. More and more things are opening up. So I think you're going to start to see, you'll probably start to see that improve. We just don't know how much. And a lot of this is going to depend on what direction these other larger things, pandemic, stock market, number of other things, what direction they take. Non-home rule sales tax, and you see it's down quite a bit there. Part of the reason for that is there are things that are taxable under the municipal share of the state sales tax that aren't taxable under the non-home rule sales tax. So that's fallen off a little bit more. Bad thing about this is what we use for our capital projects fund. This is the primary source of revenue for that, which means the work that we do on the streets and sidewalks. Now, it isn't down a lot. We did forecast that it would be down some. Keep in mind also with this that you did authorize in the budget and in the appropriation transfer from the general fund to the capital projects fund. So I think that will be enough to offset some of that. But we don't know what's going to happen in the 3 or 4 months ahead, and certainly beyond that. Income tax. Now there we saw increase for June. Keep in mind a couple of things. One is the tax deadline for paying last year's taxes. Filing date and payment date was extended from April 15th to July 15th. As a result of that, in April, you didn't see near as much in the way of tax payments that we would normally. It was about the same for May, up a little bit in June. I will tell you, it's not on this report because we just got it and it's in the current month. But for July, it was 196,000, so that's a considerable improvement. But keep in mind that still doesn't quite offset, the losses. What you saw there in April, where it was down about 150,000. And the other thing to keep in mind with this is some of this is from quarterly filers for this year, but most of it is for people paying from filers filed for the year 2019, calendar year 2019. Obviously, that's pre-pandemic, a lot of things that have happened in 2020 that may have a negative effect on that. So it's good what I just told you about is, with regard to the receipts for July, certainly good news, but I wouldn't be too optimistic with it. And I'd still be, very careful about spending money we don't have. Moving on to the end of this, and I won't get too wrapped up in this motor fuel tax here, but you see there, we had 35,000 between the regular, what we normally would have received before the tax increase, and the increase, which is that extra distribution of $15,005. If you look at a year ago, you see 26,000 as opposed to 26,821 as opposed to just over 20,000. Obviously, a year ago they were pumping more gas. This is charged, as you heard many times. This is a tax that's assessed by gallon, not by the price of the gasoline. So the fact that it's down that much indicates a lot less gas being consumed, which is not a good thing. And then looking ahead at the video gaming, again, it was down. It was zero again for June. I did just found this out today too, and we do not, and I hesitate to even mention this because we don't have the check in our hands, and with the state of Illinois, you always want to be sure that we've got the check before you report that it's money we're going to receive, because we have seen this over the years where they've suspended payments under for a variety of reasons. But what we are due for the month of July is about $30,000 in video gaming tax. So it appears that it's come back a little stronger by about $5,000 from what it was a year ago. And I kind of thought you would start to see that. But we'll have to see what happens going forward. We could easily go into another shutdown where the gaming system is suppressed. And, all this is unpredictable. So we're starting to see, with all of these sources of revenue, some positive trends, but they are shaky. They're dependent on a lot of things that we really have no way of predicting. And finally, the utility tax. This is now where you see comparable to last year. The bottle factory, I believe, closed in the month of April. So for May and June, you're seeing, and Kroger closed long before that. You're seeing should see comparable statistics to what we saw last year, and that's what we're seeing there for May and June. Keep in mind, when you're looking at May, especially, a lot of businesses were still closed. So when that is the case, there's going to be less consumption of natural gas and electricity as well. And that's all I have, unless there are any questions.
Any questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Conso. Ms. Bateman?
For the amount of sewer receipts collected in the month of July was $407,300.81. We did receive money from one of the prisons in the amount of $35,287.90 in the month of July.
Okay, thank you. And all other department head reports are on file or will be shortly. Okay, moving on to new business. The approval of invoice number 0210369 from Crawford Murphy and Tilley for the Union Street Pump Station construction professional services from May 30th, 2020 through July 3rd, 2020 in an amount not to exceed $1,457.50.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Bateman made the motion. Alderwoman Horn second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes. Next item is approval of invoice number 0210367 from Crawford Murphy and Tilly for CSO Improvement Construction Phase Professional Services from May 30th, 2020 through July 3rd, 2020 in an amount not to exceed $13,113.40.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Parrott made the motion. Alderman Bateman second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Next item is the approval of invoice number 0210370 from Crawford Murphy and Tilly for the design of a 70 MGD CSO treatment facility, new lab building, new secondary clarifier mechanisms, new screen building, grit classifier, and sludge conveyor professional services from May 30th, 2020 through July 3rd, 2020 in an amount not to exceed $61,148.25. Motion approved.
Second.
Alderman Welch made the motion. Alderwoman Horn second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes. Okay, next item, approval of payment number 2 payable to Stark Excavating Incorporated for work performed on Union Street Pump Station from April 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2020 in an amount not to exceed $135,090.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Bateman made the motion. Alderwoman Horn second. Discussion? Alderman Bateman.
So, just to clarify, Mr. Welch and I, along with Crawford Murphy and Tilly and others involved, Andrew, at the sewer plant, you're probably going to have bills like this show up at nearly every cow, if not every other one, because we decided going into this project we weren't going to end up being like Fifth Street, where a bill comes forward that was actually an invoice from over a year ago. So we've asked all parties involved to bring their invoices as quickly as possible, and they'll get finalized and looked over, and we'll bring them forward to payment so we can keep on top of this at a level that where we don't get behind and start asking questions, what are these things for?
Mr. Parrott.
What's the anticipated other bills coming from Stark from this? Do we know?
So Alderman Bateman was on the call. I was as well. I know Mr. Hoblet's been involved and Mr. Bounds has as well. I believe we're looking at least 2 more that will come in. These ones for Stark are to get that finalized and closed out with that EPA loan so that we can then get the EPA loan approved for the next contractor to start. So I believe that we're looking, and I had this question today from somebody, I believe we're looking at early September to mid-September for that to be finalized, but that's why we're going to keep these moving so that we can get that wrapped out.
Thank you.
Further discussion on this? Roll call.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes. Next item is approval of preliminary construction and engineering service agreement with the Farnsworth Group for the Heitman Drive reconstruction project in an amount not to exceed $72,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Keller made the motion. Alderman Hoineke second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Haneke?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Okay, last item is approval of agreement between Logan County and the City of Lincoln for animal control services from July 1st, 2020 through May 31st, 2021 in an amount of $48,000. Motion approved.
Second.
Alderman Welch made the motion. Alderman Downs second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
I got a question.
Alderman Parrott.
How often will they be providing a monthly report to us as well then?
To the best of my knowledge, that was not discussed.
I guess we could ask for it. I know as part of the animal control group at the county, Jane always provided a report to the county board animal control committee.
If they could, supply us a report every month on the activities that take place, I think that would be beneficial to this council.
Do you want her to break them down by city or just, have her forward the animal control report to the city clerk that we can put in the packet? Memory serves me, it has every city, the number of calls, number of releases, those kind of things. So she doesn't have to break it out by city, and then I guess if there's bite cases or something, she always put in a brief description of what was going on and how it was being handled.
As long as we could differentiate what's going on here in Lincoln, that's fine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Walt, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was checking on the amount for the Heitman Drive project. Is it 72,000 or 72,200?
The agenda says 72,000.
I know in my memo, and I know that the agreement with the dates and stuff were updated in the agreement, but it was 72,200.
The packet does say 72 too,
But the agenda says 72,000.
Yeah, Walt's thing does say 72 too.
So we can amend that vote. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a minute, Walt.
Okay.
So regarding the animal control contract, I had a conversation with Mr. Janis from the county, who's the chair of that committee, and Chief Adams today. And the discussion was about the citations. So they need an actual book of citations to write. And so Paul's gonna work with the provider who provides our citation booklets to us so that he can get them something that's specific to them. So the way I see this happening is we could do it one of two ways. We could ask Paul if he could provide those numbers to us because he'll see them going into the system as well from his end. Because anything that animal control writes still gets dropped off at the Lincoln Police Department. Or we can ask Jane to provide that from animal control. Just know going forward though that it's not in this contract, so they're not required to do it. So it would be a courtesy for them to do it. I don't think they would have a problem with it, but just so we know going into it, that would be the case.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on this one or discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Haneke?
yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Leith?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Okay, going back to Heitman Drive. So I believe we're gonna have to rescind our motions. So Peggy, can you remind us who made those motions for Heitman?
Mr. Keller made the motion, Mr. Haneke seconded.
I'll rescind my second.
And I'll rescind the original motion.
Okay.
Yeah, make a motion then that we approve in the amount of $72,200.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Who was that? Kev,
Um,
Kev,
Same people. Alderman Keller made the motion, Alderman Haneke second.
oh, okay. Mr. Haneke,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Leith,
Yes.
Mr. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is announcements. Chief, did you have an announcement you'd like to make?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up again about the outdoor warning device. I sent an email out on Thursday. Only Mr. Keller got back to me, but I just need clarification, or I don't know about approval or anything like that from the council. We talked about when we purchased the outdoor warning device that there could be a cost for the pole. I think that was part of the discussion. Ameren can provide a pole to us for $705.92. And I found a company in town, Chicago Street Rentals, which I think is Heritage. I can't think of Perry's business name. Anyway, huh?
Harry Weinbrenner.
Perry can set the pole for $600, so $1,305.92. I didn't know if I could just go ahead and do that because it was part of the package before, even though we didn't set a cap on it, or if I had to bring a proposal to you to get that approved.
How soon are they ready to do it?
The outdoor warning device is ordered. It was 6 weeks out from the time we ordered it, which was 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. So,
I think it would be appropriate, since we have the time, to put it on a cow and have the
Okay.
council vote on it.
I can put that together for Tuesday. No
Okay.
problem.
Thank you, Chief. Any other announcements? Mr. Bateman?
I'd like to touch on the purchase of the 9th Street property, just for clarification for people. That was a house that we tore down. We're now purchasing the lot. And I'm hope moving forward that, once we have deed in hand to this lot, then I'm assuming, since we've discussed it, the city would then put it out for bid to be sold again. I don't think the city should go into any more property purchases just to have empty lots to mow. So I'm hoping moving forward that's what we do. So once we get deed in hand and we know we have it in hand with a clear title, then we'll put it out for bid to sell.
Agreed. Anybody else have an announcement? Okay, just a couple things. I posted on the city Facebook page yesterday about some financial assistance programs. I know the city administrator and I received numerous emails about financial assistance programs that are coming from a variety of sources, whether that be the federal, state, or GPEDC out of Peoria. That's on top of that. I believe the IML also sends us an email. We get quite a few of these. So what I do is the administrator will share those with me, or I'll identify some that I think could be of benefit to the residents of Lincoln. And the ones I shared yesterday was a emergency renters assistance program, and the other one was the emergency mortgage assistance program. And there are some requirements. They're out there online for people to read. There's also a link to the website where you can get more details and apply. But those are some really good programs that could help those individuals who might be struggling to pay their mortgage or pay their rent due to the pandemic. There's no guarantee that you'll get approved, but if that program appeals to you and you meet the requirements, please go out and at least try for that. And then a post was made to the city Facebook page regarding the Diversity Inclusion Commission that was approved by this council a couple of weeks ago. So we're ready to move on looking at individuals who are interested in that. So if you're interested or know of somebody that is, please have them send me an email and we'll go through that process to get that commission put together. Okay, that's all I got. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Alderman Welch made the motion. Alderman Parrott, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 7:39 PM.
Played.